Aaron, people are running a little late today, it looks like. But it's good you're here because we're really going to be taking it up a notch today. Might as well get out your 2.13 notes. Hello, Jonathan. I got to present my screen, don't I? All right, 2.13 notes here. Aaron, so right about now, you should be able to see my notes, right, Aaron?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. So here we go. Here we go. We're gonna keep moving on in factoring. So I hope you've been able to devote the time to section 211 and section 212, because we're taking the next step with factoring. So like kind of on that note, if I could elaborate a little bit more, yesterday's lesson from 212 was really important. So I hope you haven't procrastinated too much on that. But if you did, well, here we go. I don't know. Let's just get rolling here. Enough chit chat. So this is a flashback from way earlier in this chapter. If we multiply this bubble times this bubble, that's going to require that distributing and also that distributing, which a lot of teachers and textbooks call FOIL. And then once you do all of that distributing, you realize, hey, this negative 9x and this 3x combine together. Okay? So that was multiplying. But factoring is like the opposite of multiplying. Factoring is breaking this back up again. So in yesterday's lesson, okay, I don't want to confuse anybody, but I do want to make sure you realize that there's a big connection here that we're building off of like yesterday's lesson. Knowing how to reverse engineer this. You know, like if I gave you this and I said, let's factor this, now it's unfoil, okay? Because the first method you would try is by GCF, and there's no GCF. The second method that we learned yesterday was, unfoil. And when you think about how FOIL works, it's not tough to like reverse engineer that, okay? Notice how positive 3 times negative 9, you end up with a negative 27. But where does this negative 6 come from? The negative 6 comes from these two numbers eventually getting added up. So reverse engineering that is not difficult. Maybe I'll jump really quick. I think we have the time today. The homework, okay? So some of the stuff from like yesterday's homework. Let me open this up. So I don't know if you want to get out your 212 homework really quick from like yesterday's lesson. Come on. All right, here we go. So this was like the start of unfoil. So I don't know. Aaron, I know you were missing for like the first time ever yesterday, Aaron. Aaron, were you able to check out yesterday's video?
Yeah.
Okay. So could you unfoil this for me? Like, do you know what this answer is for number 8 on yesterday's homework?
No.
No? Well, again, like I was, and again, I know I'm kind of like talking in circles here a little bit, but, first of all, everyone, and again, sorry if I'm boring some of you, but again, just like Aaron, I think there's probably a number of people that didn't get a chance to like really digest yesterday's homework, so yesterday's lesson. So when you go to factor something like this, your first plan is to look for a GCF, but there isn't one, right? So your next plan is to unfoil it. And the way you do that is you can like look to see like, oh my gosh, if that's just x squared, then your two bubbles, when you that would like foil together, both bubbles would have to start off with x. Okay? So, okay, x squared plus 6x plus 8. I just got to write this down on my camera. Okay, for example, I'm going to go like way up here. X squared plus 6x plus 8. This is from your homework. So if you look at this and you go, okay, there's no GCF, your next idea, like plan B, is to unfoil. And if that's just x squared, then doesn't these two bubbles have to start off with x and x? Yeah. And if that is the case, figuring out what these two numbers have to be is also really easy, because all you're really doing, Aaron, is figuring out what two numbers would have to multiply to make positive 8, but they would also have to add up to positive 6. Do you think you could figure that out, Aaron?
I don't know.
Well, just stay on the line here, Aaron. Give me one way you could multiply to make positive 8.
2 times 4.
Okay. Do those two numbers also happen to add up to 6?
Yeah.
And there you go. That's literally the answer. So yesterday, our first step in this unfoil kind of factoring, that's what it was all about, And if it was, say, x squared minus 2x minus, I don't know, minus 15. See, once again, you go to factor this, and you have to check for a GCF, okay? William, is there a GCF among all three of these terms?
No.
No. Very good. I guess William could have said 1, but that doesn't really count. So there's no GCF. So again, plan B is to unfoil. Make a bubble times a bubble. And again, I keep saying this, but there's a reason. If that first term is only x squared, that makes your job so much simpler, because the bubbles have to start off with x and x, and then you can just play that game of like what two numbers multiply to make negative 15, but they also add up to negative 2. Connor, do you think you can figure that out? Or are you pretty? I think Connor's pretty good at mental math. Two numbers that multiply to make negative 15. That's right, negative 15. But they also add up to negative 2.
Negative 5 and 3.
Awesome. And if you're sharp enough like Connor to figure that out in your head, that's it, you're done. Let me just make sure no one else chimed in here. Nope. Doesn't look like it anyway. All right, everybody. I know it's already 10:57, and we haven't even really gotten started. But yesterday's lesson was pretty important to understand before we move on. So again, Connor was able to do that, I guess, in his head. Aaron was able to do this up here, in her head. But I mean, sometimes, and I said this in yesterday's video, sometimes you have to literally write down all the ways to get this number number and then kind of cross-reference it with there. And here with the negative 15, it's like it could have been like -1 and positive 15, or vice versa. Could have been like a positive 1 and a negative. Anyway, so if you're not good with your mental math, then hey, grab a calculator, like just write this kind of stuff down. Because guess what, people? We're moving on to like another level. So get ready. Let's just cut to the chase. I feel like Jonathan wants to just cut right to the chase. So let's get to right here, okay? All right. Long story short. When we go to factor this, obviously you first check for a GCF, okay? Dakaya, do you think there's a GCF with 3x squared, 11x, and 4? I know technically it's a -4, but 3x squared, 11x, and 4. Dakaya, do you think there's a GCF? Because that's what we always need to try first. What do you think the GCF is? Like, what can you divide cleanly away from like 3x squared, 11x, and 4? All of them. It's hard, you know. It's difficult to say because guess what? There is no GCF actually. You know, the only thing that can be divided clean away from all three of these is like 1, and that doesn't really count most of the time. So, oh man. So there's okay. So let's write this down. No GCF. Let's literally write that, which means we move on to unfoil. When there's no GCF, our next plan is unfoil. Okay. Long story short, when you have a number out in front here, that's like a 2 or a 3 or a 7 or a 6 or a 5. When you have a number out here that's not just, like, see how up here it was just like an x squared, this was just an x squared? It gets a little more complicated, okay? Just trust me. And you're like making your bubbles are not going to be like super quick and easy. Because this right here makes things way more complicated. So here's what we do. This method is called the Phoenix method. I named it myself. Here's what we do. Step 1. We take this 3 that's complicating things in the first place, and we're going to multiply it to that final number at the end here, okay? So we're going to take the 3, and we're going to multiply it to the -4. I know that seems weird, but just bear with me, trust me. So now that makes it, so in a way we kill off the 3. The 3's gone. It's dead in a way, okay? So we multiply it to the -4 at the end, and it becomes -12. Okay. Now what we do is now we factor it nice and easy. Because now it's just x squared. Now it's going to be a pretty easy game of like what multiplies to become -12, but also adds up to -11. All right. Aaron, do you think you can figure that out? What multiplies to make -12, but also adds up to -11? Again, this is where being like really strong with mental math helps you out a lot.
-3 and 4.
Okay, good idea. -3 and +4 does make -12, but when you add those up, does it make -11? No, it doesn't. How about if you like do, well, what if you make it a +3 and a -4? That still doesn't get you -11. You know, when you add those up, you get +1, and when you add those up, you get -1. So what other, who thinks they know, just feel free to speak up. Who thinks they know another way to get -12?
1 and 12.
All right, I like it. You know, someone else might have said like 2 and 6. Isn't 2 and 6 another way? But no matter what way you make, you know, again, you got to get a negative 11. So Connor's spot on once again. 1 and 12. Now we got to get a negative 11. You know, one of these has to be negative and one of them has to be positive because, you know, again, it's a negative 12. And if we're going to get negative 11, it's got to be a negative 12 and a positive 1. Okay? So that's where we're at. So all we've done so far is realized, oh, that's going to be that's a 3 out in front. That means we're going to do the Phoenix method. So 3 times 4 becomes 12. Then we just factor the easy way. But we're not done, okay? We're not done. The reason this is called the Phoenix method, think of Harry Potter. Phoenixes rise from the ashes. They come back to life almost. So this 3 that we killed off in the first step, we now have to bring back like a phoenix rising from the ashes. And the way we bring that 3 back is by dividing it to these 2 numbers. Okay? And now what we do is we take these 2 fractions, we reduce them if we can. So can we reduce the 1/3? No. Can we reduce the 12 over 3? Actually, we can. 12 over 3 becomes like 4 over 1, or basically just 4, right? And after we reduce any fraction that we can, we take the denominator and we bump it up in front. You know, this 1 is not really going to do anything technically, so this bubble becomes 3x plus 1 because this 3 like literally moved up in front of the x. It got bumped up in front of the x. And so the 1 was just left to be there. And then this is just going to end up being like x minus 4. Now we're done. Now we're done. And this is the answer. Okay? So these 2 bubbles foil together to make 3x squared minus 11x minus 4. Number 2, now let's do a little bit quicker. Once again, you look at this and like Jonathan, does 4n squared and 16n and 15, do they have a GCF that we need to factor out first?
Yeah.
What do you think it is?
I can't see.
4n squared, 16n, and 15.
I don't know.
Yeah, you know the reason why you can't think of it? Because there is no GCF. So everyone, you got to realize this like ASAP. If you are looking for a GCF and you can't see one, you know, probably because there isn't one. You know, so there is no GCF, because that happens a lot, that there's no GCF. So we move on to unfoil. And because of that 4 way out in front, it means we're going to bust out the Phoenix method. So the Phoenix method means we multiply 4 to the 15. 4 times 15 is 60. Okay, so now we have n squared plus 16n plus 60. Now we unfoil the basic way. And if you can somehow think of what 2 numbers, we got 1 and 60, we got 2 and 30, we got 3 and 20, we got 4 and 15, we got, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. There's so many ways to get 60. But we got to get it, it's got to become a positive 60, but they also have to add up to a positive 16. So thinking about that, I'm liking plus 6 and plus 10. Looks like it was this one where they were both positive. to make a positive 16 at the same time. So there we go. Now we bring the phoenix back to life with division. So the phoenix was the 4. And so we're going to divide the 4 back into these two numbers. And now what we do is we reduce the fractions if we can. And it turns out, people, that both of these fractions can be reduced. Okay? So put that in your pipe and smoke it here. So 6 over 4 becomes 3 over 2. And 10 over 4, I believe, becomes 5 over 2. Correct? And the final step is to take both of these denominators and bump them up in front of the n. 2n plus 5. And so that is the final answer. All right, so that's how the Phoenix method works. You know, it saves you the trouble of trying to guess and check your way to, oh my gosh, you know, it's really easy to do ones like this, you know, guessing and checking like what two bubbles would do that. But guessing and checking all kinds of bubbles that would foil together, that's a pain in the neck. So I know the Phoenix method is like a lot of these steps, but it's way nicer than trying to guess and check your way, you know, to like what two bubbles would like multiply together. Just doing all these steps in a row. So turn the page. And you guys try. Try this one. Try this number 1 right here, people. Try it quick. Try the Phoenix method. Because, spoiler alert, there's no GCF. So try the Phoenix method like on your paper. Trying number 1. I don't know if Connor just got back on or whatever, I don't know, or whoever, but trying that one. So Allison, it would be x squared minus 6x minus what? It would be, and again, if you guys need your calculators handy, but when we do 8 times that 9 at the end, it becomes 72. Then what you would have done next is just like unfoiled it with basic, just going right to your bubbles. All right, so what two numbers go there? Right, Aaron, do you know?
I don't know.
Dakaya, do you know? No? See, again, look, I'm not like, you know, no one should panic or no one should feel like, you know, they're struggling with this, because you just have to be ready to take your time and go off to the side. Like, how can we multiply to get negative? Because again, everyone is different in how good they are at mental math. You know what I mean? So go off on the side and go, okay, literally -1 and positive 72. So like Dakaya, that gets us a negative 72, right? -1 times positive 72, right? But Takaya, what is -1 and +72 added together?
Isn't it 71?
Yeah, it's 71. We needed it to be -6. No, yeah, right here, -6. So this didn't work out. Even if you did +1 with a -72, it wouldn't work out. We need these numbers to also add up to -6. So we got like 2 and 36. No matter which one you make negative and which one you make positive, it's not going to get that. Gosh, like 3 and something? 3 and 4. Wait a minute. 3 and 20. Again, like you literally just go through all your choices, having your calculator help you out. 3 and 24. Is that going to work out? No. No matter which one's negative and which one's positive, you're not going to get -6. And that's a big number. Don't feel too bad, everybody, because that's a big number. I think you got to go like all the way to like 6 and 12, right? With the 6 being positive and the 12 being negative. So, yeah. The two numbers that multiply to make -72, but they also add up to -6. It's right here. William, then what do we do? Once we factored this, because we're not done, what happens next?
I don't know.
We got to bring the phoenix back to life, which leads to a couple fractions that you want to like reduce if you can. So 12/8 reduces to 3/2, I think. And 6/8 reduces to 3/4. And so after that, Connor, what's the last thing we do here, Connor?
Move the denominators in front of the variables.
Very good. Excellent. So your final bubble here is going to be 2x minus 3, and this final bubble is going to be 4x plus 3. And if you wanted to double check, you could like literally FOIL this back together and see if it gets you back to the original problem. Because all you're doing is rewriting this. All you're doing this whole time is figuring out like what two bubbles would multiply together to make that. Okay? So number 2. So what's the first thing we do here, Aaron?
Look for the GCF.
Oh, that makes me so happy you said that. Because that is literally the first thing you should always do. Nice job, Aaron. Because that, like, again, like you gotta keep yourself trained to always check for that first. But there is none. So Aaron, what are we actually gonna, like, when we actually do something, like what are we actually gonna do first, Aaron?
I don't know.
Well, okay, that's okay. I mean, when you guys like move on to your homework and everything, like that's when hopefully through repetition you'll learn these steps. But what's the first step of the Phoenix method? You got to like learn these steps, kind of thing. The first step is to basically kill the Phoenix. So do that really quick while I answer the phone. Mr. Falk. Hi. I do. You weren't sure if I had a cyber class. Okay. Yeah. I'll have to call them back, yeah. All right, bye. 56, am I right? 4 times 14 is... Pretty sure. Okay, now what do we do, Aaron? Now we make the bubbles. Because once it's just x squared, you can just immediately make your two bubbles, right? Now again, I'm just saying, just so you guys are aware. I think this next step is where a lot of us are going to struggle, maybe because of our mental math, abilities or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, or maybe I'll just say knowing our times tables. Maybe it's not so much mental math. It's like literally knowing your times tables, like in your, by memory. So again, this is where you're thinking of the two numbers that multiply to make negative 56, but they also add up to positive 1, because that's a positive 1 right there, technically. And so if you got to go off to the side, write them down, use your calculator to help you, that's what you got to do. I'm sorry, it's just that's what you got to do. The bottom line is you should get, does anyone know it? Who knows it? How do you get negative 56 but also add them up to positive 1? Nobody? That's okay. And again, it's not a race. You don't need to rush. If you can't think of it right away, don't quit. Just go off to the side and go like 1 and 56, 2 and 28, 3, no, not 3. 4 maybe, 4 and 14, I guess. But also, you know what I mean? It's going to be plus 8 and minus 7, I believe. Takaya, what's the next step once we have these two bubbles? Yeah! Bring the phoenix, which in this case is a 4, bring the phoenix back to life. It's kind of almost ironical that we killed the phoenix by multiplying, and we're going to bring it back to life with division. It's almost poetic. And then what happens next is we reduce either fraction if we can. 8 over 4, that reduces, that flat out divides cleanly. 7 over 4, that actually doesn't reduce at all. So if you want to make this 2 over 1, I mean whatever, but it's just going to be 2. So x plus 2, that happens. And then this couldn't reduce at all, so this 4 gets bumped up. All right, people, check it out. So I know that was very new to a lot of us. That was very advanced to a lot of us, but that's what we do, okay? So a quick summary. When you are faced with a trinomial like this that you are told to factor and there's no GCF and you see a number out in front that's not 1, you need to bust out or try at least this Phoenix method, okay? And so as you do your homework a little later, you're going to want to keep your notes handy, a lot of you, so you can kind of like learn the steps. But there's one other, and you're probably going to find this, a little bit easier, okay, to finish this lesson. There's one other type of scenario I need to talk about in this section. So here we go. This shouldn't actually take that long. I know it's already 11:21, but whatever. Factoring out a monomial first, which again, what did Aaron say here, Jonathan? Like, Jonathan, what do we always look to factor out first if we can? I think you even said...
the exponent.
I think you, 3 letters. I think you actually said it as well. You and Aaron, I think, both said it earlier. Like, what do we look to factor out first? Like, what's the first method of factoring we always check for? Is that the 3 letters?
The greatest common factor?
Yep, awesome. And that's what we're going to do here. But in these problems, there's actually going to be one. So what's the GCF here, Dakaya? From 3x squared, 15x, and 18. What is the GCF? Because there is one. Spoiler alert.
I don't know.
GCF is what all of these have in common with like factors, so that you could like divide it out. You know, so 3x squared, 15x, and 18. What could you divide from all of those, William? Like, what would be the GCF?
3.
Nice. And so we do that. We divide it out from all of them. And so what's left over here is x squared plus 5x plus 6. But here's the new plot twist. We need to factor completely, as we always should. The directions shouldn't have to literally say factor completely. You always should do this. Here's the thing. This bubble of x squared plus 5x plus 6 can factor again by unfoil, of course. Of course it's got to be unfoil. So the 3 comes down, and this x squared plus 5x plus 6 can get broken up again by like basic unfoil. What two numbers multiply to make 6, but they add up to 5, positive 6 and positive 5? Well, that's pretty simple, actually. Boom, done. Now you're done. So that's the answer to number 1. Okay? So sometimes you factor out a GCF, but then you can like factor that bubble that's left over. You can factor it again. Of course, this time it would be by unfoil. All right? Number 2. What do all 3 of these terms have in common? Oh, good Lord. Oh my gosh. See, I feel like grabbing a calculator now. If anything, obviously there's going to be an x. Like, I know there's going to be an x, because they all have x. You know, I think that's what Jonathan was talking about with the exponent thing. But oh, good. Okay, yeah, no. See, I was thinking like, oh my gosh, 3. Can we divide 3 away from 84? I was about to grab my calculator to find that out. But then I looked here. Yeah, no. I don't think you can divide 3 away from 84 or 26. Can we? No, yeah, we can. Actually, we can here, but not here. So, yeah. The GCF is not going to include a 3. So what's left over here is 3x squared minus 26x plus, holy crap. I mean, right? The GCF is only x, right? Anyway. Turn that off, Ben, for a little while longer, right? So here's what happened next, gang. We would have to now do Phoenix method. Or at least try it. But this gets... Let's skip this one, though. That's going to be like a giant number. Let's pick our battles for now, okay? This next one. All right. Once again, is there a GCF? What do we think? What do we think? Is there a GCF, Connor? 2. So we bring that out. Okay. But then we got to see if we can like keep this going, which I feel like maybe we can. We at least got to check. But keeping this going is going to require Phoenix method, which means that step. Okay, so we got this 2 that's already out there. We have like you know, x squared plus 3x minus 4. And so can this unfoil? Like, are there 2 numbers that get negative 4 but also positive 3? Yep, I believe it's plus 4 and negative 1. Then, of course, it would be time to bring the Phoenix back to life. Okay? and then do whatever you could with the fractions. 4 over 2, that's just 2. 4, it literally divides clean, okay? And then this one, the 2 would just bump up because you can't reduce that, and you'd be left with 2x minus 1. So this bubble became this, but this 2 would kind of... So now it'd be like 3 factors. 2 times bubble times bubble. All right, so I'm gonna stop there. Maybe on Monday we'll follow up with all this. But again, we took the next step in the Phoenix method, like in unfoil. So sometimes unfoil requires this Phoenix method, and sometimes you do the GCF, but then you have to keep... Stupid, get out of my way. Oh my gosh. Okay, but sometimes you bring out a GCF, but then you got to keep going, whether it's with basic unfoil or like Phoenix method unfoil.